What's up, beautiful people? In this video, I do my first haircut ever. I filmed this haircut back in the spring. We're in the fall right now, so it's been a while. It's been sitting on my computer for a while because I uploaded it to Instagram just wanting to do an Instagram video. But then when I saw that I still had the footage, I was like, hey, why not upload this to YouTube? In this video, I had a client called Aziza, and she just basically wanted a trim. This is one of the simplest haircuts that I've ever done. It's really simple, very straightforward. So Aziza hadn't cut her hair in a while. She had been doing a little bit of hair modeling. The last hairstylist had given her a rounded V cut. So what she was asking for was just to get rid of that V shape. So a lot of women either love the V haircut or they hate it because she had wavy, naturally wavy hair. So I thought a blunt cut would be perfect for her. And she didn't want any thinning or any texturizing in that haircut, and she just wanted her layers freshened up. So if you have a round cut and you want to go blunt, what you have to do is basically just take off that excess rounded shape. It actually won't feel that much shorter because you're not going to be able to see the back. So a lot of times when you take off that rounded shape in the back, the U in the back, and you make it blunt, it feels lighter. But in the front, it's not going to look very different because with the round shape, the front is always going to be shorter than the back, right? So when you take that off, it's not going to feel like a huge difference. You will feel lighter, but it's not going to feel like a massive difference. So this is basically the haircut that we did. It's a very simple, straightforward haircut. If you are looking for something like this, ask your hairstylist for a blunt shoulder length haircut with minimal layers and some face framing layers. But it's always good to have some type of a reference with you. Please make sure that you take a picture or at least 3 pictures from Pinterest and show them to your hairstylist. Even better, show them this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Here's the video. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below, or you can find me on Instagram at Lena's Makeup, and you can DM me on Instagram. I'll see you soon in another video. Bye.
Okay, so first things first, I'm just brushing out the hair as it's dry, and I decide how much I'm going to take off. So I start to just kind of cut off that corner, not corner, but like, you know, the rounded shape of the hair, of the dry hair, so that I can give her a blunt look, kind of like what she wanted. So after I wash her, I just comb down the hair and I try to get it as precise as possible, and I'm taking off the minimal amount of hair that really I'm allowed to take off because she didn't want much hair taken off. So the whole idea of like getting regular trims is to clean up the hair so that you don't have any of those little pieces sticking out. So I make sure that her head is a little bit angled down, and as you can see, I comb over and over and over, and I'm constantly cleaning up all of the little hairs so that they're all even and that every hair looks exactly the same. So again, I take another section and I'm doing exactly the same thing, and I'm combing as much as I can. I'm combing everything to the back because you'll notice in a little bit that her layers in the front of the face, around the face, are actually shorter. So even though it looks like I'm taking off, or I took off quite a bit in the back, it will line up with the front just because the front is a little bit shorter. So again, I'm just combing and I'm cutting and I comb and I cut. And this is something that you have to do over and over and over to make sure that the cut is even, and it's even on both sides, and everything just lines up so that, you know, if she were to straighten her hair, it would look great, and if she were to curl it, it would look great as well. So this is just my last section. This is around the crown, and as you can see, there's really barely any hair that we're going to be cutting because it's layered. So at the hair at the top, at the crown, is actually shorter because it's like I said, it's layered. So there are some hairs that are sticking out. So again, I just keep, you know, trying to line everything up and cleaning up as much as I possibly can. I'm taking everything to the back. So see what I mean? The front is barely there. So her layers are so short in the front that when I comb it to the back, there's really barely anything to take off. So see, it's actually, it all lines up together, which is perfect because I'm going to give her some layers in the front in just a little bit so that her hair is you know, nice and long, so that she feels it's a little bit longer. I didn't want to make it short, not short, but I didn't want to line up the haircut all the way around where she would feel that the front was was too short. So I wanted to keep the front long and the back all cleaned up. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking the crown as a guideline, and I'm taking it all the way up and I'm cutting straight across. And it is a blunt cut because she already had so much texture in her hair that I felt like if I were to point cut that it would be really, really frizzy. And she naturally has wavy hair with a lot of frizz, so her hair is of a medium texture. It's not, I mean, it's a fine medium, so there was a lot of frizz in her hair, so I didn't want to give her any more of that. I wanted to make it all completely blunt. So as you can see, I'm taking everything and I'm kind of lining it up with my guideline. So I took the guideline to the top and I cut that straight across to I don't know how to explain it, but it basically just goes around the round of the head. So now you go around the head with what we call pie shapes, and you clean that up. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm cleaning up so little that when the hair does fall, it's still layered, but it's not extreme layering. She didn't want extreme layering. She just wanted a cleanup. So this is exactly what I'm doing, just giving her a cleanup with her layers and, you know, checking and rechecking and cross-checking and making sure that everything lines up. So I'm coming over to the other side, doing the same thing. Luckily, what I love about this comb that I'm using is it has its own hook, so it actually just hooks in the hair and grabs the hair. So I'm taking everything in small sections and in very precise sections. So see, you can see it's kind of pie-shaped and going around the head shape. So you want to go around the head shape so that everything is rounded and everything lines up together. So that's basically how you do a layered haircut. And when the hair falls, it just falls into layers. So here I'm measuring that all the layers are coming across together evenly. So see, what I just did was called cross-checking. So after we cut the hair, we go against what it was, or against what we cut, so that we make sure that all the lines line up. All the cut lines up. And so I did the connecting. So I'm shaking it here because the trick with cutting layers like this, especially with frizzy hair or curly hair or wavy hair, is you want to shake it out to see if it falls nicely. Ultimately, we can follow the perfect guidelines and the perfect haircut, but at the end of the day, if the hair doesn't fall right and it doesn't fall nicely, maybe the layers are too heavy or they're too short, then you didn't do a very good job. So you want to make sure that it really falls nicely. So what I did there was, and I'm going to do it over on this side, is I pull the hair back because I wanted to keep the length in the front. So if I were to not over direct and cut the hair the same way I cut the back side of the hair, then the layers would have been too short, and I didn't want to give her short layers. So as you can see here, I'm just taking off the excess of the hair that's grown out, that's gone frizzy, that's probably gone a little bit dry, and I'm over directing it to the back to keep the length. So that's the whole trick, is that you're trying to keep the length. And here I'm connecting it to the back layers as well, and I'm doing a little bit of point cutting around the front. And the trick here is when you do point cutting around the front, the lines are not as harsh. So it was okay to do blunt in the back, but I just found that doing blunt in the front could be too harsh. So I always like to do a little bit of point cutting. Even though I'm point cutting, it still comes out relatively blunt. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing extreme point cutting. I'm just doing a little bit. So here I'm just taking off just those tiny, tiny little hairs to polish off the haircut. So this is kind of like a cute little trick that we do to just clean up the little hair, so that, you know, when she goes home and she lets her hair air dry, it's going to be clean, so she can see clean lines. And that's the whole idea, is that the haircut, as it grows out, it's going to be clean. Here I'm making sure that her part, because she parts on the side, that it's even with the other side, so everything comes together. I'm just basically making sure that everything evens out together, and so that the haircut flows together, so that there are no layers that are sticking out that are longer than others. Again, I shake it out, make sure everything is looking good. I'm really, 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 anal about getting the hairs right. If I see anything sticking out, I like to just take it off. I don't take off too much. I just take off a tiny, tiny bit. to make sure that it all comes together. So after I dried her, I just basically gave her a quick blow dry, not a round brush, just with a flat brush. And this is dry cutting. Dry cutting is my favorite thing to do. After I do a haircut, I always check it dry, because dry hair doesn't lie, you know, like the way the hair is gonna fall when it's dry, when she goes home and she decides to give herself a quick blow dry, I want to make sure that the hair looks good. And here I'm doing her front layers, her face framing layers, dry as well, because I almost never want to do this wet unless somebody asks for an extreme haircut. So even if I'm cutting off a lot of hair, I'll do it wet, but I'll still leave some length to cut when it's dry. So I always like to leave a lot of hair to cut dry, because that way it just feels safer. I'm more cautious. I don't want, this is the hair that's framing your face. You want it to look its best. And so what I do is I cut a little bit, and then I ask my client, okay, how is this looking? Is this too long? Is this too short? What would you like me to do? And then they usually will play with it, and they will tell me if this is looking good or not. So here with Aziza, basically, I'm still cutting the ends of the hair to take off that kind of frizzy ends. And what I did with the layers is I twisted the hair, and then I cut it so that it gives her face framing layers that are really, really soft and that flow into the rest of her layers. Again, see, I do the same thing, and I keep doing that until my client says, okay, I like this. So I never go in like a lot. So she hates the texture shears, so I didn't use any texture shears on her. As you can see, I'm point cutting here. I'm going into the hair, and I'm just doing like notching or point cutting to give her some texture around her face again, but just not so blunt. Like, you don't want your face framing layers to look blunt. See here, I'm waving them like I just kind of shook them out, and I realized that I needed to do a little bit more point cutting. So point cutting basically takes out any bulk or any lines that you've cut into the hair, and it makes the hair flow better, and it evens it out a little bit more. If that makes any sense, it's basically you're debulking. You're taking out corners, bulk of the hair, any weight, any heaviness. These are words that you want to keep in your vocabulary when you go see your hairstylist. If you don't want any weight, you don't want any bulkiness, that's what you want to keep in your vocabulary toolbox when you go see your hairstylist, so that they know what you're talking about. So basically here, this is how I style it. I just go through her whole head with a flat iron, and I curl the hair. I give her some nice beach waves. Her hair is naturally wavy, and she came in with almost natural beach waves. So this is basically mimicking her own natural hair texture, and that's why I felt really comfortable doing this, because at the end of the hairstyle, I thought, you know what, this actually looks a lot like how she came in. I mean, lucky her, honestly, like she came in with really, really cool beach waves. I loved it. I thought she looked really, really great. So I knew exactly kind of what I wanted the hairstyle to look like. And this is another thing, is when you go see your hairdresser, make sure that you come in with your natural texture and how you would normally style it, so that we can see what it looks like. Because if you come in with unwashed hair, and we're supposed to kind of figure out what your hair is going to look like, it's hard for us to figure out what it looks like. You want to come in with your natural hair texture that's been washed and styled the way you like it, so that we can use that as a reference point. So with hairstyling, the top I always curl away from the face, and you want to pull the hair down so that it's not ringlets. If you don't pull the hair down, it will give you very defined round curls, whereas when you pull the hair down, it basically gives you more beachy waves, looser textured waves. And I just love using this flat iron. This is my Avanti flat iron that I got from school. And it's flat, and it's obviously it's flat, but it's thinner. So with the thinner irons, they're easier to use for doing beach waves. I don't know why. I just find that the larger irons, the ones that are like, you know, they're more like square almost, I find them more difficult to work with. I love the size of this flat iron. Unfortunately, it stopped working, so now I'm using a different one. So I just basically go around the entire head, and I take vertical sections. So, and I'm flat ironing the ends because I want the ends to be a little bit straighter. I'm going to shake it out in just a little bit, and I'm going to put in, I think, a little bit of dry shampoo and to give her some beachy waves. And I pull down on the curls. So you want to pull down on the curls when you curl your hair like this, because again, it makes the curl straighter. It comes down rather than around, I guess, the more curly. You don't want it to be curly, you want it to be wavy. So this is kind of how you would do the beach wave. Coming around the other side, again, you just want to curl it away from the face. Everyone has their own technique of how to do this, but in general, this is how you would do a beach wave. And a lot of people do random curls. So for me, I did everything in uniform. I did all of the curls going in the same direction. So around the face, it was all away from the face. A lot of stylists like to do more messy curls, so every curl comes out in a different direction. So if you're going to curl to the right, the next curl you curl to the left, etc., like that. But I just find that makes the hair look really messy. It might look good for a picture. I just don't like the way that it sits. Probably maybe because I don't know how to style it properly. That's a possibility. But I just find that when you have more uniform curls, it just looks neater, and I find more people ask for uniform curls than messy curls, depending on where they're going or their personality as well. Aziza was a professional, so I don't think she really wanted messy curls. She wanted everything to look uniform and clean. Now, honestly, the most important thing for me is to establish some kind of a relationship with my client, to chat with them, make them laugh, ask them about themselves. I love that aspect of my job while I'm doing something creative. It's amazing. So this is how I shake it out, and I just kind of run my fingers through it. First thing is I shake out all of the curls, and I'm using the Aveda texture spray here, and I love that spray. You just kind of, it gives you a really nice definition to the waves or the curls, and without it being really crunchy, it gives really nice definition. It's very light. I find from all of the texture sprays, it's probably my favorite one, so I like that a lot. And yeah, just use your fingers to run everything through. Find the best look for you. Find the best way to shake out these curls for you. The messier they are, the prettier they are. And with flat iron curls, they do last longer, so that's another trick. Thank you guys for watching.